Okay, the Ways and Means Committee has advanced a couple of bills that they're going to affect tax exempt organizations and the way they report foreign grants and the receipt of foreign donations. So let's take a quick look at these. I'm going to provide a link to this below, so in case you want to read all of the wonderful detail. But the first bill is the Foreign Grant Reporting Act. Now, keep in mind that these are not passed into law yet. These are just bills that are coming out of committee, and they still have to be debated and passed by Congress. But it seems likely that these will be passed in some form or another. Okay. First, Foreign Grant Reporting Act. Now, the problem that they see here is that grants made to domestic organizations, in other words, United States organizations, um, have to be reported. You have to report the recipient of the grant, the name, address, employer ID number. All right, but with foreign grants for the Form 990, you don't have to report that level of detail, and essentially they're saying that's not fair. So if we take a quick look here, um, we'll take a look at Schedule F. That's for reporting foreign grants. All right, you can see that in this first section, it's just reported by region. So you would just report, say, any grants made to organizations in the Middle East. You would put the Middle East here, the number of offices you have in the region, and the total expenditures. Okay, and then on the second page, it gets a little more granular. Um, you just report again the region, the purpose of the grant, the amount, etc. And you can see that the name of the organization and the IRS code section and employer ID number don't have to be filled in for foreign grant recipients. Okay. Um, Interesting though that the columns are here. It's almost as though that they expected to have to change it the way it's reported in the future. So this is essentially what this bill wants to happen. It wants these columns to have to be filled in. All right. Um, and if we have a look at the Schedule I, that's where grants to domestic organizations, U.S. organizations, are reported. And you can see you've got to put the name and address and the employer ID number and the code section under which it's exempt, in addition to all the other information. So essentially, they're saying, hey, it's not fair that you have to report all this detail for domestic grant recipients, but not for foreigners. So they want to change that. Okay. And we have the End Zucker-Bucks Act. And this bill prohibits 501c3 organizations from providing funding to state and local election organizations. All right. They feel that government-run election administration should be funded by governments and not by wealthy donors. Okay. So if you're a 501c3, you won't qualify for a 501c3 if you're providing funding to election organizations. The American Donor Privacy and Foreign Funding Transparency Act. Okay. Now, currently, donors to a tax-exempt organization are disclosed on Schedule B. Okay. This bill seeks to protect American donors' privacy by preventing federal agencies from collecting or requiring the submission of information on the identification of any U.S. citizen donor to a tax-exempt organization. This is a little confusing to me. I'm not sure exactly what they mean by this yet. This would appear to say we're not going to require Schedule B anymore. Now, currently, donors have to be disclosed, their name and address and the amount they donated. If it's over $5,000, has to be disclosed on Schedule B, but Schedule B isn't technically open to public view. In other words, the IRS is supposed to keep that hidden, and of course that's kind of laughable. So I'm not exactly sure what that means. It remains to be seen. However, they want to require annual disclosure of certain information about donations from foreign sources, including the total combined amount of funding received from foreign sources, the citizenship of the sources, and the total amount of donation from each country. Okay, so they're backing off on the disclosure and identification of U.S. donors, and they're wanting to require additional disclosures by foreign donors. All right. So the one bill we were talking about is about grantees, right? All the disclosures, increasing the disclosures on money that the charity is giving away. And then here, this bill is increasing disclosures on money that the charity is receiving as donations. Then we have the No Foreign Election Interference Act, yet another, and this passed the committee 39-1. So it was looked favorably by all. And it prohibits American tax-exempt entities that receive contributions from foreign nationals from donating to any political committee for 8 years after receiving a contribution from a foreign national. So why is this? Well, so this Swiss billionaire donated millions of dollars to tax-exempt organizations in the United States, and then they sent money to super PACs, and it supported one team more than the other, and so they felt like this was unfair to allow this foreign money to influence the U.S. like that. So that what they're saying is that if a charity does make such a does receive such a contribution, right, from foreign nationals, they're not allowed to donate it to any political committee for 8 years after they've received it. So you have a foreign organization giving money to a domestic organization. The U.S. domestic organization can't spend that with any political committee for 8 years. All right. So if you fall afoul of that rule and they spend the money, the fine is 200% of the donation amount. And then that's the first two violations. The third violations would be automatic revocation. Here we have the Taxpayer Data Protection Act, which isn't really related to the tax-exempt organizations, but I just thought I'd throw it in. Apparently, an IRS contractor stole some IRS data, and he leaked it to the New York Times, Donald Trump's tax return, and apparently hundreds of others as well, or thousands of others. Private taxpayer information got released, and so it has increased the fine and the imprisonment for that. Just thought I'd throw that in. The reason being that anytime the IRS says, don't worry, we're requiring this information, but don't worry because we're going to keep it secret, that's not going to happen. It's not going to stay secret. Okay, I'll provide links below if this interests you, and if these pass, when they pass, I'll put up another video. One more thing that I wanted to throw in is the type of disclosures that you make for foreign grants. In other words, grants that the charity is making to a foreign grantee. The amount of disclosures that you have to make depend. Are you filing a 990EZ or are you filing a Form 990? It's really weird. If you're filing a full Form 990, like we just talked about, you list the grants that you pay out on the Schedule F. Okay. And you don't have to list the grantee's name and address. But if you're filling out a 990EZ and you have any grantees that are paid $5,000 or more, no, let me say that right, in excess of $5,000, if one grant recipient receives more than $5,000, you're supposed to list them on the Schedule O. And you can see I have here on the screen, this is Schedule, this is the, I see I lost it, trying to make the screen bigger. Line 10, okay, on the 990EZ, that's where you include grants and similar amounts paid to individuals and organizations. All right. and it tells you what's included. And then here says the grantee list on Schedule O. All right. Any grant recipients that received in excess of $5,000 during the organization's tax year, you have to list on Schedule O. You list each class of activity and the grantee's name and address for grantee organizations. You don't have to list individual names. But so this is different. And it's really rather odd that for the night. So if you're an organization, a small organization, and you have foreign grant recipients, they're receiving your grants, and for whatever reason, privacy reasons, security reasons, endangering your representatives, whatever, if you don't want to show the recipient's name and address, you might want to just go ahead and file the 990, the full form 990, and fill out the Schedule F. And that is until they change the rules. But if you do the Schedule O on the 99EZ, technically you're supposed to put the foreign grantee's name and address. Now, can you leave that off? It seems to me that I read where if there are genuine issues of security, like you could be endangering some of your employees or contractors, that you could leave that off. I mean, I would, right? You don't want to endanger anybody. And then if for some reason the IRS doesn't like it, you can always explain. So that's about it. I just thought I'd throw that in.